Welcome to today's lesson. Today's lesson we are going to talk about control statements. We're going to talk about control statements. So let's create a new class. So on our package we select new and we go to class, and then when we go to new class, I'm just going to call it control statements. Control statements. So there we are. So let's put our main class here. It's a public static void main, public static void main. We have string args, square brackets, and curly braces. So we are talking about control statements. So in Java we have we categorize control statements into three. The first one is selection, second one is iteration, and the third one is jump. So we have selection, iteration, and jump. So when you talk about selection, basically we are talking about the program being able to actually select parts, which part to follow based on an outcome or maybe the state of a variable. That is now selection. So the program selects path to follow. Then we have the other one, which is iteration. Iteration is here we want to enable maybe a section of code to be repeated a number of times. So in other words, you just say code repeated. Then we have jump as the third category. And basically for jump, we want to allow nonlinear execution. We want to make sure that the execution is not just linear, but we can have nonlinear execution. Now let's talk about the Java selection statements. Now Java has two selection statements that it supports. One is the if statement and the second one is the switch. Now these statements normally allow the control of program, the control of the program flow, of course based on conditions that are known during the runtime of the program. So we can look at the if statement. We normally use the if statement to route program flow through two different paths, and the general formula for the if statement is if, then we supply the condition. If we supply the condition, then statement followed by the statement. That is the general formula. If we supply the condition, then followed by the statement. So we can have else, then we supply statement 2. So it works this way, that if the condition executes to true, run statement 1. If the condition executes to true, run statement 1. Otherwise, run statement 2. So each statement may be a single statement, or we can have a compound statements, that is a block of statements in curly braces. So if the condition returns, normally the condition returns a Boolean variable that is either true or false. Okay, so let's look at an example. Let's declare two variables. The first one is a, the second one is b. Then let's say if a is less than b, if a is less than b, then a is equal to 0. In other words, check if a is going to be less than b, then store 0 to a, else b is equal to 0, else b is equal to 0. So we can just this is because we did not we have not initialized these variables. We can just initialize them to something. Let's say this is 1, a is equal to 1, let's say b is equal to 2, something of the sort. Okay, so let's look at this program. It's going to check the condition. 1 is 1 less than 2? Yes, 1 is less than 2. So then it is going to store 0 in a. So if we print a after this else statement, a should no longer be 1, it should be 0. Okay, let's see that. System.out.println, and we are printing a. At this juncture we are printing a. So if we run this code, check the result. The result is now 0. But notice here our a was actually 1, not 0. Our a was 1. But since this condition executes to true, it assigns a to 0. So assuming that a was 11, so it will check, is 11 less than b? It will answer 11 is less than b, so it will say false. If it is false, this else statement will be executed. This else statement will be executed. So let's check that. Let's print this. So in other words, it will assign 0 to b. Let's print b here again. Let's print b. Let's run this. You see, let's run that. See, so a is 11, b is now 0. Why is b 0? Because this condition is returning false. So if it is returning false, the else block is being executed. Now the expression that is actually controlling the statement can use relational operators or even some Boolean operators. As if you've seen here, less than is a relational operator. We covered operators in the previous lesson. Nested ifs. So it's good for us to understand that we can have if statements in other if statements blocks. We can have if statements inside another if statements block. So we can look at an example like we want to check if somebody is actually Kenyan. Then after checking if somebody is Kenyan, let's check if the person qualifies to drive by looking at the age. The person should be 18 or above to be able to drive. So it will be something like we can just say string. We have string country, and we give it Kenya. Let's give it Kenya, and then we have int age. This time we can give it maybe 20. Int age, let's give it 20. Then let's say if the person is Kenyan, so if country is Kenya, if the person is Kenyan, then we need to check the age. Otherwise we don't need to check the age. So if country is Kenyan, then if age is greater than or equal to 18, if age is greater than or equal to 18, then we can tell the person system.out dot println, we can tell the person, congratulations, you can drive. Congratulations, you can drive. That is, but if the person is Kenyan, but the age is less than 18, we can give an else statement here and say system.out.println, we say sorry, you cannot drive. Sorry, you cannot drive. But what if the person is not Kenyan? Because if the person is not Kenyan, we don't need to even check the age. So that comes to this entire, you see this outer if block, we need to supply the else statement here. So else, we tell this person system.out.println, we tell them, you're not Kenyan, you are not Kenyan, thus cannot drive in Kenya. So regardless of their age, whether they are 18 or above 18 or below 18, the fact that they are not Kenyan, they cannot drive in Kenya. So this is what we call nested ifs. So if you run this program, because our age, the country is Kenya and our age is 20, we expect that it will print congratulations, you can drive. So let's run the program and see. So the output here, congratulations, you can drive. But if we change this age here to, the person is Kenyan but the age is now 16, and we run this code, let's see, sorry, you cannot drive. Now the person is age above 18, let's say is even 56, but the person is not Kenyan, is maybe Tanzanian, something of the sort. The country is Tanzania. We can run this, and if you run this, we check the output, you are not Kenyan, thus cannot drive. So when we have if statements or if blocks existing inside other if blocks, we call them nested ifs. Okay, now I have also introduced to you the if else. This is if else. So we have something else we call if else if, the if else if ladder. For example, we have a scenario where we want to check one condition. If this condition is returning false, we don't want to do anything, but we just want to check another condition with the same input. We want to check so many other conditions before we can print something. So let's think of maybe a grading system, just a simple grading system. You want to check, you are given the marks, then you want to check the grade for the student. And as I'm doing this, I'm going to introduce you to taking input in Java. How can we take input from the user in Java? How can we take input from the user in Java? That is something that I want to introduce now. I don't want to wait. I want to introduce it to you. Now, let me clear this. Also, we need to clear this one to have some decent code. So, user input. Before I do the if else if ladder, let's talk about user input. Now, to get user input, let me put a comment here. To get user input, we need to use the scanner class. Yeah, and the scanner class is found in the java.util package. So it has so many other available methods that can be used. For example, you have the next line for taking up strings and all that. So let's first use the method to take in an integer, because what we need is we want to take an integer, the student marks, from the user. So to do that, we need to import the package here. So below this, you see here we have package lessons. This is our package. We are going to import the package here, the java.util. So we're going to say import java.util, then dot scanner, because we want to use the scanner class. Import java.util and dot scanner. Then we are going to come inside here in our main class. We are going to create a new object. We are going to create a new scanner object. I'm going to say scanner. Don't worry, I'm going to cover objects much later. For now, get it that way. Scanner my object is equal to new scanner. Scanner my object is equal to new scanner. Then we want to take input from the user. So we get system.in. I'm going to say system.in. So we have created a new object, that is my object. Now then we can prompt the user for input. So system.out.println, we ask the user, enter your marks. Ask the user to enter their marks. Now once the user has entered the marks, we need to read the marks. So we are going to read to store the marks in marks. So we just say they are integer. So we're going to say int marks, yeah, is equal to, then we need to read the marks. So my object dot, we have various methods in the scanner class that we use to take input. For example, next boolean is for taking a boolean value. We have next byte for taking a byte value. We have next double for taking a double value. Next float for a float. Next int for an int. Next line for a string. Next long for a long, and next short for a short. I want to take in a string, so we'll say my object dot next int, because we want to take an integer value. So my object dot next int, that's what we're going to say. So we are going to read whatever the user inputs, then we store it inside marks. Good. So now we can bring in our if statements, because we are taking the marks from the user. So we can bring in our if statement. So we say if. So our grading system is so simple. For now, I just want to do two variables because of time. I mean two grades because of time. That if somebody gets above 60, the person has an A. No, if the person gets above 70, the person has an A. If the person gets between 50 and 69, the person has a B. And the person gets between, let's say, 0 and 50 and 40, the person has a what? A C. Let's just assume that way. It's not a real scenario for grading. Let's just assume that way. So we're going to check. But the first thing we need to check if the grade is actually, because you want to be between 70 and above. Okay, between 70 and 100. So we say if max is greater than or equal to, max is greater than or equal to 70, then we are going to use this operator to mean and. Remember, we are short circuiting. I explained this, that if since all the conditions must be true, so on the left side, if the condition is false, then we don't need to check the other. We are short circuiting there. So we also check max. Max should also be less than or equal to 99. Yeah. So we can declare another grade here, another variable here of character. So char grade, and here in our if statement we say now grade should be assigned to the character A. Again, if the grade is not falling in the category of A, we need to check if it is falling in the category of B. So we need to say else if, then we supply the condition. Else if marks is less than or equal to 69 and max is greater than or equal to, let's say we're starting from 49, so greater than or equal to 49, then we should say 49 is a lot. Okay, that's fine, it's not a real thing. Then we would say that grade is what? Is a B. Okay, now else if you check the third, else if here supply the condition max is actually less than or equal to 40, less than 49, should be less than 49. Okay, and max is greater than or equal to 29, for instance. Let's say the person has a what? Grade is what? Is C. Alright, grade is C. Else, so any other mark that is supplied else, just supply an else statement to make things simple. We say else, so else grade equals to F. Else grade is equal to F. Now when we say grade is equal to F, it means even above 100 will be F. Like I said, I'm just demonstrating this. Now I want you to check this. This is an if-else if ladder. It allows us to check for the same input, for the same variable. It allows us to check multiple conditions for that variable, and only when that condition is executes to true, then something is done. So we can run this. Just see. Let's test. So we run that down here. Enter your marks. So let's enter 89. 89, that means it should be an A. Then we hit enter. Now if we hit enter, let's see, where does 89 fall? Here. 70. Yes. So that should show us an A. What is happening? Now this thing is taking really long. Oh, sorry, I forgot something. We need to print this. Whenever we get these grades, we just need to print them. We did not print, that's why nothing is showing. Nothing is showing. Let's print them. System dot out dot print ln. We are printing grade. So we're going to copy this because we want to print grade for all these options. Once it's found, boom, let it be printed. Let's also print grade after this. Control V. So let's run our program again. Let's apply 89. For the max is 89 again. We hit enter. You see it's showing us an A. It's showing us an A when we supply 89. It's actually showing us an A. Now if we run this program again and we supply 30, here it's showing us a C. So that is how we use the if else if if else if ladder. And I have also shown you how you can capture the user input as well. That's very important. Okay, so it's very essential for us to understand that when you look at the if else if ladder from the top to the bottom, so as soon as one condition executes to true, now the rest of the ladder is actually bypassed. Now if none of the conditions are true, then it is going to execute the else. This one here will only be executed, this one, if none of all these conditions provided up here are true. Okay, so the final else here that I have provided is actually acting as the default condition that is executed if all the other tests fail. So that's it with if. Let's talk about the else statement. I mean the switch, not the else. Let's talk about the switch. So we can create a new class. We go to our package here, we right click, we go to new, and we say new class. Say new class. We can call this switch. Switch. We can call it switch, and we say okay. Sorry, switch is a keyword. Switch statement, and then we hit enter. So let's input our main class here, and we say public static void main. I say string args, we supply that, and then we have our curly braces. So we are talking about the switch. Now the switch statement in Java is actually a multiple way is a multiple branch statement, and it is just an easy way to dispatch execution to different parts of your code based on the value of an expression. So it is a better alternative than a large series of if-else statements. If instead of having if-else-if statements, many of them, we can have a switch statement to actually do that for us. It's an easier way of implementing. Versions of Java prior to JDK 7, we need to have expressions that are typed that are of the type byte, short, int, and even character enumeration supported by the switch. But from JDK 7 onwards, we can also have expressions that are of type of string. Now when we have the switch statement, it's actually working by comparing the value of the expression with each of the values in the case statements. So if a match is found, the code that is following then is actually executed. Now let's not talk a lot. I want us to jump right away into this. Now, for instance, we want to print the number of months, the number of days in months. So we are going to use a switch statement to actually print the number of days in months. I want to put it simple so that you can actually understand. So the first thing, we need to use the keyword switch. We can just initialize this variable here. We say int. So what we'll be supplying is we'll be supplying the number of the month, and then we get the number of days of that month. So you can say int month. Then we have switch. So we say switch. In here we need to have the expression, but for this case we're just using the variable month. So we're taking in month, and then we have the curly braces. Okay, month is not initialized. Let's just give it a 0. Give it a 0 in the meantime. Yeah, so inside these curly braces, now we have the cases. So the first case is when a month is a what? It's January, right? So case 1, the month is actually January. When somebody supplies 1, it means January. So we can still initialize another variable here. We say days, and let's assign it to 0 as well, so that when we come here after this case 1, we can say assign days to what? Assign days to 31, assuming that January is 31. Then print system dot out dot println. We want to print days. And once that is done, then we have break. So the break statement, as you can see there, is actually is ending this case. It's ending the case. Now we can have the second case. To save on time, I'm just going to copy this, then I edit this stuff. You can type them out. So I'm just going to copy that, then I'm going to paste it there. I paste it the third time, the fourth time, fifth time, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th. Then we will just change the case values. Now before I even change anything, notice that you cannot have same case values for different cases. That's why you see all these errors here. So if that is 1, this is going to be 2, is going to be 3, is going to be 4, it's going to be 5, yeah, this is 6, this is 7, this is 8, this is 9, we have 10, 11. Okay, we need one more for December. This is going to be 12. So you can just change this to, okay, December is 31. I'm just going to put random values here, just random values. So maybe 30, assuming that this one is also 30. We assume that June is 30 as well, and we assume that January is 30 as well, and we assume that February is 28, and that's it. So now, so if we run this program, we have given, okay, sorry, we have given the number of let me cancel this first. We have given the number of months as 0, so we can just change this to something meaningful like 6. So when you say 6, it means we want to get 30. We should be getting an output of 30. So we can run this. If you run that, check the output here, the days is 30. So that is how we use a switch statement. Now guys, I want you to modify this switch statement, this program, to actually take user input. Modify the same program, but the user should be able to type in the number of the month. The user should be able to type in the number of the month, and then the program prints the days. So again, you can have scenarios where you want to actually, you are printing the same thing, okay, you are printing the same thing you desire to have maybe multiple cases without a you can have multiple cases without a break between them, especially when the code that you execute after those cases is the same. If you're doing the same thing, for example, if all these places we are printing the same message, like days, and we are printing the same number of days, for example, So you can have many, you can have multiple cases and multiple cases following each other, and then you print the message that you want. Now, let's just look at with an example. So I'm going to erase this. I don't want to create a new class. I just want to remove this up to there. Okay. So let's actually have a for statement. I'm going to talk about that when I'm talking about iteration. So for int I is equal to 0, a for loop, right? Then I say when I is less than 12, and then we increment I. Don't worry about this loop, we'll discuss it in under iteration. Then we say switch, we are taking in I, okay, and then we say case 0. What we want to print under case 0 to case 4 is the same. So case 0, okay, case 1, it's supposed to be a full colon. This one is semicolon, supposed to be a full colon. Then we have case 2, we have case 3, case 4. So for all those cases, when it's 1, 2, 3, 4, we just want to say this is less than 5. So we can just print okay, just a moment. Hello. Yes, how are you? Uko sawa? Niko salama, sijui nawe. Bwana, nilikutafuta. Nilikuwa kwa ngori na bado niko kwa hiyo ngori. Juu ka kitu jana kaka kiingia, maybe kanaweza ingia leo. Unaona ile time hiyo tu, si ilibidi niache bike huko sasa. Juu sasa walikuwa wanaitisha 5. Na hiyo time nilikuwa na 3. Nilikuwa nimeomba 3 mahali. So imebidi ni iache sasa. Traffic wa Mombasa wako na hiyo ujinga. Traffic wa Mombasa wako na hiyo ujinga. Sasa ukiangalia bike iko na insurance, iko na mataa, iko na kila kitu, like it has everything. Ni mimi sikuvaa helmet, na sikuvaa juu kuna mahali nilipeleka nikaioshe, nikasahau helmet hapo. Alafu was in a hurry. Unajua mistake ni wakinishika walikuwa na zile go down zao, so wakaifunga wakapeleka station. So wakipeleka station lazima ulipe, wale watu wameipeleka huko ni 2k, then polisi 3k, hiyo ni 5. Because ingekuwa maybe hawakuibeba, hiyo ni rahisi, unampea hata 500 na inaisha hiyo. Sasa niko hivyo, imebidi tu nitumie mati tangu jana. Ilikuwa imebaki 2k juu niliomba mdosi 3k akanitumia. So tulikuwa tuna expect nani salary kuwa processed jana haijakuwa processed, meaning ni leo. Why pit date 6, meaning ni leo, lakini ni majioni, huko inaweza ingia hata saa 3 usiku. So ni kugumu kidogo. Sawa, ndatafuta tu. Ukinitafutia hiyo nitamuongelesha niongezee hiyo moja before akingoja kuprocess hizo vitu. Juu unajua sasa kwenye ninakaa mbali kidogo, juu najua niko na usafiri. Sasa mafare ni upande bike kwanza paka stage, uchukue gari, ukuje ushuke upande bike tena. Sasa unaona mafare ni more expensive kuliko hata hiyo mafuta unatumia. ndio maana naona hata classes huja kuwa ukiingia. Equipped. Ni sawa, wewe ukinifanyia hivyo mimi nitashukuru. Itakuwa rahisi kumfuata ofisi nimwambia nipe hiyo moja ya juu. Haya, thanks. Haya. Okay, so let's continue guys. So we have case 4. We want to print the message that 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4 are actually less than 5. So we're just going to print it once. Say system.out.println, and we say at this juncture I is basically is less than 5. At that juncture I is less than 5. That's what we want to print. So then we break. So of course whatever we are putting after that is greater than 5. So let's print from 6 to 8, and we say I at that point is particularly, maybe we can say less than 10. Okay, let's do this. So it can have case 5, case 6, case 7, case 8, case 9, case 10, case 11, up to there. Then for all these cases we want to say they are greater than 5. So system.out.println, you want to say that I is greater than 5. You want to say I is greater than 5. You want to say I is greater than 5. Yeah, so from there we can break. Then we can supply a default case that will run if all these conditions are if all those cases do not apply. Then a default case is going to run. So we can put a default case here, say default. So default, for the default case we just want to print hey. Okay, string, it's not string, system.out.println. We just want to say hey. This is system. Don't worry, I'm using a keyboard here that I don't know what language is it. So system, you want to say hey. Then so you can see we have multiple cases. We have multiple cases without a break statement between them. We only have the break here. Now we can run this. Okay, let's run that. Come down here. So I is greater than 5, I is greater than 5, I is greater than 5. All those cases apply. Then here we have the break statement. So that's how we actually use the switch statement when we want to have multiple cases. Okay, so when we use strings with switch cases, you make sure that you put them in quotation marks. Like for example, if this first case here is John, I need to put it in quotation marks that way. Then in here I can say John. Yeah, something of the sort. Yeah, if you want to use strings, you put them in quotation marks. It's very important for us to know that. It's very important for us to know that. Okay, very essential for us to know that. So that's switch. Now switching on strings is more expensive than maybe switching on integers, because when we are switching on strings, only in cases of controlling data that is already on string form. Most of the times we don't switch on strings, we just switch on integers unless you want to control data. Now I want us to to understand that you can also have nested switch statements. You can have a switch statement inside another switch statement. So switch statements have three important features, and the first feature is that they only test for equality. So they look for a match between the expression values and one of the case values. So we have the I here as the expression value, and the case values that we have are these that we supply. So it's going to check for a match of 0. If it is found, then it is actually prints. Then number 2, if we have two, we cannot have two cases that have the same name or identical variables. You cannot have cases, two cases with the same with identical variables. Now you see, if I change this 0 here to 1, you're going to see an error. That's what I'm trying to say. You see, now there is an error, and if you hover here to check the error, just hover here, you see duplicate case. So it cannot allow having more than one case with the same name. Number 3, the switch statements are actually more efficient than the nested if-else statements that we have seen in the previous time that I was dealing with it. So it's very essential for us to master the switch statements. Okay, for this lesson, that's it, guys. We will meet in the next lesson, and in the next lesson we're going to do something more interesting. We will be talking about iteration statements. Yeah, we'll be talking about iteration statements. Look at for loops, while loop, and do while loop. See you in the next.